This meeting of the Bryan Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present and that this meeting has been duly called and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act, Texas Government Code Chapter 551. I wish to extend a warm welcome to everyone present. Citizens may make comments about topics relevant to district business. Topics should be limited to 3 minutes. Comments concerning specific students or personnel will be heard in closed session. I ask you to please turn off the sound of any electronic devices and join me as we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Brought to us by Navarro Elementary.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Texas pledge.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Navarro is the best! I pledge allegiance to the flag.
What was that?
Sorry, I had to take a picture because I was given a forewarning that particular class was going to be doing the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. And so I wanted to get a shot from up here to send back to the teacher. So, so I apologize for that. All right. And with that, we will go ahead and move into the spotlight recognition. Starting with the elementary school teacher of the month for February. So I believe Principal Satterfield.
Good evening. This is my fabulous 5th grade English Language Arts and Social Studies teacher, Miss Alvarado. And I nominated her for Teacher of the Month for February because she always goes above and beyond to structure her classroom as an ideal learning environment where kids feel safe taking risks and learning from each other. She treats every kid and their families with the utmost respect and truly establishes a productive homeschool collaboration. Her parents respect and trust her because of the time she has taken to communicate with them about the progress of their child, which sometimes involves having some really difficult conversations. Ms. Alvarado is actually only a second-year teacher, but you would never know that by walking into her classroom. It's evident that she spends quality time not only studying her curriculum, but in looking for new and innovative ways to engage all of her learners. She's worked hard to get to know all of her students, both in and outside of school, and has used this information to help her to be a better advocate for them. In addition, she networks with the team of teachers that teach her students to better assist and ensure that all stakeholders are on the same page in terms of how to better meet the varying needs of all of her students. With the changes that COVID brought this year, Ms. Alvarado jumped in and started synchronous classes, calling home often, and never taking an excuse for why her kids can't learn. Ms. Alvarado is actually a product of Bryan ISD, and I consider her to be an upcoming shining star for our district.
And thank you to BBT for being here and helping us celebrate our Teachers of the Month.
Thank y'all.
Right, next up we'll have our April Elementary Teacher of the Month with Assistant Principal Rives.
Good evening. I'm personally honored to introduce Ms. Lisa Tarver as Ross Elementary's Teacher of the Month for April 2021, and thrilled for her that she's been chosen as Bryan ISD's Elementary Teacher of the Month this month. Ms. Tarver has been a dedicated servant to Bryan ISD and Ross Elementary for 24 years. She completed her student teaching semester at Ross, and she's a former Ross student. In her tenure at Ross Elementary, she has served as a 3rd and 4th grade classroom teacher, and she's currently our music teacher. It's safe to say that Ms. Tarver is passionate about and dedicated to Sul Ross Elementary students and families. Over the years, Ms. Tarver has contributed many things to make our school a great place. She's built strong teams, celebrated students, staff, and families, built authentic, lasting relationships throughout the Bryan community, including one with me. Lisa's a go-getter, and she shows it in her undeniable work ethic and time spent making Ross a better place to be. Over the years, she's applied for and received grants from the Rotary Club, the Education Foundation, the Bell Grant, and most recently, the Texas Music Educators Association. She has served as mentor to many, many young teachers and student teachers, too many to count, and the same can be said about the number of campus and district level committees on which she's actively served. A co-worker said, Ms. Tarver has gone above and beyond by leading our staff and students with anything they need. She's an amazing team player and mentor. This teacher said, I love the kind, encouraging way she deals with her students and with her co-workers. Ms. Tarver contributes much more than her teaching skills to her students. She contributes her time, her energy, her passion, her love, mostly her love, to making Sul Ross the best school. Besides her daily music teacher duties, Ms. Tarver has served as the campus UIL coordinator and taught music memory for the past 7 years. She has selected and led students in learning music for the district honor choir, and last year she led a ukulele choir for 3rd and 4th grade students. I had the privilege of one singing and sending me one of the videos. It's awesome, still happening. Ms. Tarver understands that teaching goes far beyond a curriculum. She desires to know the whole child and the real reason that they come to school. Ms. Tarver is keeping it real at Ross, and for that reason, I am thrilled that Bryan ISD is recognizing her too, and even more thrilled that she's my friend.
Aww.
And more.
Thank you. Next up, we'd like to welcome Principal Layton from Rudder High School for the April Secondary Teacher of the Month.
Thank you. Rudder High School is nominating John Shelton as the Teacher of the Month. Coach Shelton has been the most successful girls basketball coach in Bryan ISD. Coach Shelton has coached at Bryan High and Rudder High, propelling both of these programs to be some of the best in the state of Texas. Over his career as a head coach that has spanned 3 decades, Coach Shelton's record is 672 wins to 294 losses. He has taken teams to the regional tournament on numerous occasions, been to the state tournament 3 times, winning 1 state title in Buffalo. But wins and losses do not define John Shelton. He is a servant leader, a player's coach, and he always finds a way to bring out the best in his athletes. He is patient with everyone in his program. He recognizes some of his players come from a tough background, and he provides the finesse needed for all players to learn the game and become better people. He always tailors the game plan to the talent of his players, always putting them in the best situation to succeed. He believes in his players and supports them when other coaches may have given up on him. Recently, when he announced his retirement from coaching, his former players, assistant coaches, and even officials flooded social media with praise and gratitude for his impact on their life. Former Rudder basketball player Marsha Amerson, who played college basketball at the University of Houston, commented, "You have made such an impact in so many of our lives. College workouts were a breeze for me because you had us well prepared. Thank you for being such an amazing coach and role model. Another former player said, "You definitely changed the way girls basketball should be played. Congrats on a great career. I'm blessed to have been a small part of it. Your legacy will live on through those who are influenced by you." Every player earned their spot on Coach Shelton's teams. Whether it was running the hill behind Merrill Green Stadium, hundreds of down and backs, or weighted vest, it meant something to make his team. Not only is John Shelton a successful basketball coach, he's a wonderful human being who values each person he encounters and always leaves a long-lasting, positive impact on their life.
Yeah, she was his basketball
Once this year.
Awesome.
Thank you.
We haven't accepted his retirement yet, have we?
At this time, do we have any citizens' comments? No. And with that, we'll move right down into informational items. First up is counseling services update.
And everybody leaves.
Good evening. Thank you for having me today. I'm here to discuss the school counselor program. Just a kind of a little bit of an overview. Currently, we have a certified counselor, at least one, at every campus, along with a crisis counselor that is assigned here in the district out of this office. She is the in-the-moment kind of counselor. She runs to campuses as needed, and I promise you I would not have survived the last couple years without her, so thank you for that. Next, we want to talk about professional development. This sounds funny, let me stand back. We do monthly PLC meetings with counselors and discuss a variety of topics, along with this year mandated that all counselors update their mental health first aid training, so they all have an updated certificate. And this year, with so much of the professional development being virtual, counselors have had the opportunity to attend trainings through Region 6, through TEA, and I'm really excited to say that I have 2 counselors that are attending the mental health first aid training for teens. It's a 2-day training. At the end of it, there'll be trainers of trainers, and they'll be able to come back and do that training with our students next fall. So I'm really excited about that. Community programs. Counselors work hand in hand with many of those local agencies, along with support programs within our district. Academic-wise, we have Gear Up now. We have Advise Texas. Many of the counselors are also the family engagement coordinators for the district, so they do some trainings for parents. And then supporting our homeless students and other students of need through Project Hope. So that leads us into the big part of the program, the Comprehensive Guidance Program. There are 4 components: guidance, which is the teaching and the developing of those needed skills; responsive services, which is the intervention, those immediate needs and concerns. It could be academic, it could be social emotional, it could be personal. Individual planning, which is the guiding, the planning, the building of those 4-year plans, setting those personal goals. System support, it's kind of the overview. It's those counselors that are parts of committees, where campuses are making decisions for the good of the whole campus, but at the same time, it's helping out those individual students. Now, you notice I listed a 5th one, non-guidance. Not really part of a counseling program, but it happens, and as the team, we all have to work together, and sometimes we have to do some of those activities that may not be considered guidance activities. I have conversations with counselors all the time about We are part of a team. Let's figure out how to make this work. But how can you minimize that time, or how can you make it relevant? An example would be morning duty. I tell elementary campus counselors, if you're assigned duty, pick morning duty or after-school duty. Outside with those car riders. You get to build those relationships with kids, and there's that same group of parents that you get to see over and over. So it's about making that time relevant. We follow the comprehensive guidance program that's set up by TEA, and it is part of those 4 components that I just listed. You can see the time varies, what their recommended amounts of times are that you spend on these things. And it's a difference based upon elementary versus secondary. What are the students' needs? So we have to make those adjustments as we go through those levels of schooling. We're going to talk about each one of these components in detail. The first one is guidance curriculum. A few years ago, we adopted Safe and Caring Schools. We use that as a framework to develop our scope and sequence. We also take that information that we have from our lessons, look at the Essential 8, and figure out how we can mold them together so we're using the same language, so we're not confusing students on these different terms. There are so many nonprofit agencies that supply guidance curriculum lessons for counselors, and so we use those. And we buy supplemental curriculum, those types of little stories that could make a difference with the student. One of the favorites is that one up there, the spookily, the little square pumpkin, which talks about people being different, and it talks about not bullying. And so it's pulling those but that I can use my breathing exercises to help calm me down and refocus so I can get back to my work. So it's kind of a multi-step process. We were going to do a little breathing exercise. So everybody just take a deep breath and we can move on. Did you get it, Matthew? Okay.
You are sitting on a chair Sit tall, both feet on the floor, back nice and long, and shoulders relaxed. Get your position sorted. And when you're ready, take some nice deep breaths. In through your nose and out through your mouth. In through your nose and out through your mouth. Good. After a few breaths, you should start to feel nice and calm and relaxed.
Thank you, Matthew. You can see, like I said, you start with the counselor doing that with the students, then having the teacher redirect a student to the video, and then eventually the student being able to process through We have this available on the district website. Have it available on the district website. It is in all of the Schoology courses, but it is a corner set up, and this, though the personal classrooms are pretty elementary, this is all levels. The center section, the common something easy a teacher could put on in the background when students are working independently to help bring down that level of stress. If you scroll down through the middle, we have a link to resources. Those are some community agencies and resources that we have within the district. And then finally at the bottom is the updated Essential 8. Again, it's linkable and it talks specifically about leadership. So we have this set up district-wide that anyone, including us, can access this information. Okay, guidance topics are very specific from TEA, what we are required to cover. The language for social emotional learning is on the left, paired with our Essential 8 that's in the center, and on the right are the 5 required lessons that must happen each year at all levels. And you'll notice we try really hard to reframe them at the elementary school and focus on healthy relationships versus dating violence. Same thing with suicide prevention versus healthy emotions, using that age-appropriate language for all students involved. I wanted to talk specifically about a few of the initiatives that we have district-wide. First of all, we have Red Ribbon Week, which is at all levels. We have the Amazing Student of Character Awards that are at all of the elementaries across the district. Then we have a couple of campuses, actually we have several, that have activities that they have done for years and years and years around Valentine's Day or Veterans Day or the random Kindness Week. And so it's using those initiatives at campuses, and counselors' part is to teach the students the relevance of kindness, gratitude, philanthropy through these activities they do. The one I'm really excited about are minute meetings. We started this year at our intermediate schools, and I charged the counselors with meeting with every one of their incoming 5th grade friends at the beginning of school. We felt like we needed them to have a positive interaction with adults coming back to school. When I told the counselors before school we were going to do this, they're like, "You have got to be kidding. There is no way we can do this." And when they finished, they're like, "Oh my God, that is the best thing that we have ever done. Please, can we do it next year?" But it allowed them to connect with every student in the building in the 5th grade during those first few weeks of school. We move on to responsive services. As we talked about, that may be those academic interventions in the moment. But this year, we've really focused the most on social emotional needs. Of students who just need additional support this year than what we've ever had, and I think everybody realizes that that's probably our new normal, or we should have expected it. We have, like I said, we're doing lots of small groups, focusing on some of those social emotional needs. We're doing some individual counseling, and then we're doing referrals. We refer out to MHMR, STAR, Texas A&M, and the one I'm really excited about is TCHAT. We signed an MOU with the Texas A&M Health Science Center this year. They are doing behavioral telehealth, so we are supplying a location and an adult that's near the location to monitor students who are receiving services through the Texas A&M Health Science Center. I reached out to them today. They have served approximately 80 students, and we have a number of students that are right now in the referral process. So that has gone really, really well, and I hope the funding from the governor's office continues so we are able to do that again next year. Individual planning. It looks very different from elementary to high school. I kind of charge my people with making the future a part of every conversation that you have with a student. Excited to say the elementary counselors are working amongst themselves. They've reached out to family friends, local business owners, and they're currently filming little videos of, I'm a doctor and this is what I do. I'm a construction worker and this is how I spend my day. And through the month of May, they'll be showing those at the elementary campuses. As we move into secondary, it's about those one-on-one meetings, the course guides, those informational nights with families to help students make their plans. As you can see, Ms. Sullivan here is meeting with the student in face-to-face registration in the bottom corner, and up at the top, Ms. Rodriguez is actually on the phone with a student who is an online learner, helping plan their schedule and their plan for next year. One of the big things that we started several years ago are matriculation letters. In the month of June, we send home, like this year, it'll be our upcoming seniors, the class of 2022. Every student will receive a letter along with the transcript explaining exactly what courses, what assessments, CCMR, whatever it takes for them to meet graduation. And so that is kind of the end of the year job before counselors leave at the high school, is to make sure all of those notifications go out to families and making contacts of students who might be behind. Wow. And then finally, we have system support. Like I said, it is those district validation team meetings. It's the CPIC meetings. It's those meetings that are talking about the good for the campus, but how they can help those students individually. I mentioned earlier, a lot of the counselors are the family engagement coordinators. The bottom two pictures on the right are from Bonham Elementary. They hosted several, as well as many other elementary campuses, hosted reading nights this year virtually, where they had staff on. They invited parents and students to get on and read along in talking about the comprehension and the things in the books. And then the last part of system support is 504. Counselors are the campus coordinators for 504, and so each year they conduct annual meetings and then additional meetings as needed for all of those students to ensure their plans are moving them forward and in the right direction. And I'm open now for questions, and just remember, every day is a fresh start.
Oh. So I had a quick question about TChat. Are we offering that at all campuses now?
Yes, ma'am, we are. We started the year, it was something new, not knowing how it would go, and we started at about 5 or 6 campuses, and when it was up and going and they're like, oh, this is fabulous, we have now opened it up, and it's an opportunity at all campuses.
So are we providing the computers and the cameras for that, or is A&M providing that as part of the
We
contract?
are providing the setup for that, a Chromebook or an iPad or whatever from the campus.
Okay, thank you.
Are you having fun?
I am having fun. It makes me a little nervous to stand up here, but, I love my people. This year it's been stressful. It's been stressful for everybody, so I listen to them a lot. I feel like that's my job most of the time, is to listen and to support my people. But yes, I'm always having fun.
You always did. You were a counselor at Bryan High, and everybody wanted Miss Willard. I want Miss Willard, I want Miss Willard.
Thank you.
I don't know, several slides back, but the one that we're really honing in on kids with needs this year, particularly due to COVID, and is this the one?
Yes, ma'am, responsive services.
The federal government is giving money, the state money supposedly is coming. Do you need anything? I mean, is there anything out there? Because I know this isn't, the best thing you have going is the relationships, and that doesn't cost a dime. But I know there's things, like she was just talking about, cameras and monitors and contact with kids online. What can we do to help you?
Schoology's been amazing because counselors do put all their lessons in there. They have virtual office hours. So that is, I know that was an academic bring on, but it has been fabulous for counselors also. EmotionalABCs.com is a free site that I have several elementary counselors using right now. And they really love it. And so we are looking at purchasing it, but it's not a tremendous amount, Ms. Waller. It's about $3,000 to be able to cover it district-wide. But they have lots of really good guidance lessons and teaching those steps of social emotional learning.
Well, I know it's tough, but you're doing such a good job. And you had kids come through Bryan. I mean, you treat all kids like you would want your own treated. So you're good for the job.
Thank you.
Well, I know the need is great and recognized for mental health services, and I don't know how much you really get into the high-level stuff, but I'm sure you're aware that we're all aware that there's a great need for that and a shortage in most places, including our community. I don't know if you have anything to comment on that or whether we see any light coming at the end of the tunnel, or any positive news you can give us about what do you do when you've got a child that clearly is needing high-level services?
That has been the positive part with TChat because they're offering, psychology and psychiatry, like they will move a student to the next level. We have, like the list of resources, we've reached out to many of the mental health care providers in the district. We know who takes Medicaid, who does a sliding scale, who needs insurance. And so we have a resource document when families ask us, we want a personal counselor. We have resources to give them. There is a wait, I won't lie, even through MHMR, but it's a sign of the times, and we can just continue to try to triage until we can get a student served. Does that answer the question?
Yes, I know it's the problem's not solved, and I know that you weren't going to say it was. I just was wondering if there was anything new to report on that area that you were aware of. And of course, part of our job is to try to do what we can to influence the state to do more, and because that is so critical to safety. We're a big believer in safety, and it's not about just saving these kids. It's about keeping everybody safe. It's a multifaceted thing. I think we're just aware that all it takes is one child that falls in the cracks, and it can be a multi-level tragedy. So anyway, again, that's part of our job as board members, I guess, to continue to try to work on that, and y'all continue to do the best you can with what you got.
Thank you. I will appreciate Mr. Wayne. She was on that state committee, and they have put out a number of trainings for mental health under the Project Restore name. And so we have gone through, counselors have done some of them. I've taken and compacted them. It's a lot of time for teachers, and so we're trying to work through all of those, pull the most pertinent information that's relevant to teachers in the classroom and put those things together so it's easy access for them, and that's kind of my charge. this summer is to go through the rest of those and pull some more information together for teachers. And the opportunity is there for them, but to spend hours and hours on these trainings is difficult for them. So it's just trying to pull the right information to get in their hands.
I want to thank you and your team and everybody that's out there that plays a part of this. I think going into COVID, of course, there was the, how do we feed the kids? How do we teach the kids? But very early on, I think we also realized what's not going to be there if a kid's not in school. And one of those very first components was that interaction with counselors and guidance and adults. So I want to let you just say thank you on behalf of the board for being there and being with the team, and please share our gratitude back with the team.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As Donna is stepping away, I just want to also mention, not only does she oversee everything that she shared with you tonight, but one important area that she really didn't elaborate on, but I will have a slide or two to share with you during my report, deals with master schedule. And Donna has an aptitude, she wants to run on the term master schedule, but there's an aptitude to trying to figure out a master schedule, especially at the high school level. And Donna is our go-to resource, and she has been instrumental in the final plan that we're going to share with you. So thank you, Donna, for that.
Thank you, Donna.
All right, and next up we have an update from the English Language Arts and Social Studies update.
Hi, I'm Leslie Holcamp, and I wanted to thank you for allowing us to present to you again tonight. Tonight we are going to give you an update on 9 through 12 English Language Arts and Social Studies. So tonight I have with me Janice Kinley, who is our Social Studies Coordinator, and Brandy Morley, who is our ELA Secondary Coordinator. And I'm so excited to have this team. We have an awesome team, and we're always excited to present to you.
Okay, we're back again. I'm Brandy Morley, and I am going to talk about high school ELA this evening. So the first thing that I want to point out is the variety of course options that we offer for our learners. Am I supposed to click? Oh, I am. Oh, sorry. I thought I had been clicking. Okay, so let me get to our courses. All right, so we have a variety of course options to meet the needs of our diverse learners. So for our regular or our on-level ELA courses, we have English 1 through 4, as well as our New Arrival Center, which is a class for our students who have recently immigrated to the United States. So they actually get English course credit through the New Arrival Center. And then we also offer, in addition to our, traditional English courses, we offer a pretty good variety of intervention courses. And all of these courses are specifically designed to meet the needs of the students in a certain grade level who have not yet met the passing standard for our English 1 and or English 2 EOC course. So our Read 180 and System 44 course is designed for those students who are, we say, significantly below grade level. So usually they're 2 or more grades reading below grade level. And then our Reading Ready course is designed for 9th grade students who may be 1 grade level below reading level, or they did not meet the standard on the 8th grade STAR reading test. And so then they are dual enrolled in English 1 and in Reading Ready. So they're getting the traditional ELA curriculum, but then in addition to that, they're also getting support for those to meet those testing requirements. And then our practical writing is designed for 10th grade, creative writing is designed for 11th grade, and college readiness is designed for our 12th grade students. So in addition to providing support for the end of course exam, it also provides targeted support for our students who will be taking the TSIA exam so that they can show college readiness if they're planning on enrolling in college or in a junior college or community college. Sorry, I forgot I was clicking again. And then we have our advanced academics courses. So we have, for advanced placement, we have English language and composition, English literature and composition, which are for 11th and 12th graders. And then at Rudder, we have the AP Capstone program. And so that encompasses AP Seminar and AP Research. And then with our partnership through Blaine College, we offer 2 dual credit courses that students can enroll in as a senior. And then they can earn, up to 6 hours of college credit through dual credit. And then at Bryan High School, we have our International Baccalaureate program. And then that includes our IB English courses that students enroll in their junior and senior year. So for high school ELA, we have a total of 7 courses in which students can gain college credit. So last time I was here, I talked a little bit about the Readers Writers Workshop model that we implement in intermediate and middle school. So we use that same model in high school. So our system is the same, but the complexity in which the students are taught the standards and the complexity of the texts that they read increases with each grade level. So while the setup is the same, it gradually gets a little bit more complex with each grade level. And our ELA is, a little bit different in all of the other content areas. So that's how our standards are designed from kindergarten through 12th grade to really just progress with each grade level. And so tonight, I'm going to share a little bit more about why we use this model and how it benefits our students. So our whole goal in ELA, elementary through secondary, is to create our students, to build our students to becoming independent readers and writers. So we want them to be able to leave high school and go to college or go out to the real world or go into a career and be successful. And so some of the reasons why we implement the workshop model, I'm going to talk about some of those reasons. One of the main reasons is because it encompasses blended reading and writing instruction, which is, I just kind of explained that our TEKs are designed for that. And so students should be reading about what they're writing, and they should be writing about what they're reading. So instead of teaching, everything in isolation, they should see those connections so that they can really, become more proficient in reading and writing. It also promotes student choice, which is also a large part of our standards, which for high school, this is the first year that we are implementing our new TEKs. And so last time I talked a little bit about how students have choice during their independent reading, where they select a book of their choice to read for a sustained period of time. So some other ways that we might offer choice, for example, in writing, might be allowing students to select their own writing assignment, or even giving them a more limited choice where, maybe everybody is writing an argumentative essay, but then they have 3 topics to choose from. So then they still have some choice and some ownership in what they're learning so that they're more interested in it, and then it also helps them, to make those connections. And so another reason why we use the workshop model is for mentor text. And a piece of mentor text is basically just an example that a teacher uses to teach a reading or a writing skill. And so during that mini lesson portion of the workshop time, a teacher, for example, they would teach a reading skill with this piece of mentor text. And so a student would be looking at it from a reader's perspective. So, what is the author saying to the reader? What message does the author want the reader to glean from this? But then they're going to turn around and look at that same piece of text from a writer's perspective and look at how did the author do this? What words did the author use? How did the author organize their writing? And so again, it's making those connections and helping them to see that reading and writing are partners and they have to go together. And then that brings me to teacher conferencing. So all the research about reading and writing will tell you that students have to have focused and specific feedback. So the workshop model allows a period of time for a teacher to be available to meet with their students either individually or in a small group so that they can get that feedback. And then finally, that brings me to Cross-Curricular Connections. So in a couple of years, all of the informational passages that will be on any STAR reading or end of course exam will be based on content from other subject areas. So they might read a passage about something that they're learning in science or something that they're learning in social studies. And those passages are going to be based on the TEKs from science or social studies or whatever content area it comes from. And so one way that we are, helping support our teachers and our students in this way is our English 3 and U.S. History courses. So our instructional coaches have been really instrumental in working together to design the English 3 scope and sequence so that what they're learning about, to follow the U.S. history timeline. So whatever they're learning about in U.S. history, they're reading about things from that same time period and reading things, about that time period. So again, making those connections to help them master that content.
Are the textbooks or whatever they're using, are they going to have all that cross-curricular connections in it?
Within the textbook?
I mean,
No.
so the teachers just have to do that by collaboration?
So we basically changed the order of the scope and sequence so it would match the order of the U.S. history timeline. And so it may not be presented in that order. And, a lot of times it's taught under a theme so we just made it where it matches that timeline so that, sorry, Janice, I don't know all the time periods of U.S. history, but whatever they're reading about, or whatever they're, studying in social studies, that's the time period that they're reading about in ELA. So writers from that time period and events and things like that. But our coaches have really teamed up and worked together to make that happen because it's not written that way anywhere for them. So our coaches have been really instrumental in making that happen for us. So I'm going to share a few photos with you so you can see a glimpse into our classroom. A couple of years ago, our district literacy committee adopted our 4 literacy tenets, which are read, write, think, and discuss. And so that just really embodies the whole idea of our standards from kindergarten through 12th grade, which emphasize how listening, speaking, reading, writing, and thinking are connected all of the time. I think I said before, we teach all the things all the time. So we have adopted these literacy tenets, and they are applicable across all content areas. So we have worked with our teachers so that they can learn how you can implement literacy in all content areas. So I'm going to share, of course, all these examples are ELA, but Janice will talk more about literacy in other content areas. But I'm going to share a video clip with you guys. It is from our AP seminar research course at Rudder High School. And these are some 10th grade students who have worked on what's called their passion project. So their passion project, they are allowed to choose a topic of choice, and then they come up with their own research question, and then they research the problem as well as solutions, and then pros and cons to each solution. So then they put all their research together, and they have a group presentation. So I'm going to share a little snippet of one of their presentations.
And our presentation is on how our malnutrition is in the hospital. So our question was, to what extent malnutrition is preventing global children?
If malnutrition goes untreated, it can go on to cause a list of other problems like stunted growth. Stunted growth is when children don't grow as much as they need to or as fast as they
The presentation is about 10 minutes long, but they came together, did their individual parts, and then came together and presented all of their research. So we believe not only in ELA, but in all of our content areas, that if they have those opportunities to read, write, think, and discuss every day, that they will be successful, not only outside of the classroom, but then post-high school, which is our ultimate goal. So now, I'm going to turn it over to Janice, unless you have any questions.
Thank you.
I am Janice Kinley.
Real fast.
Sure.
Yeah, if
She
you
has
go
a question.
back a slide, it looked like kitty litter on the slide.
It is.
Okay.
Okay, Brandy, I'll let you.
It is actually kitty litter. So in this particular classroom, the students had read a piece of text, and the teacher put all kinds of items in a trash bag that they couldn't see. So then they didn't know what was in the items, but they had to work to try to figure out what was in the trash bag, and then based on the contents, who did it belong to? So
Okay. Wow.
A lesson in inferencing, which then led to, okay, now let's apply that to the text that we're reading,
Okay.
where they had to make inferences.
So you know we look at the pictures.
We do look at the pictures.
Yeah, it's hard to see in here. Hi, I'm Janice Kinley. I'm the Social Studies Coordinator and also the World Language Coordinator for the district. And thank you for giving us this opportunity to brag on our courses and our teachers and our instructional coaches. In high school, we have 27 social studies courses, so a large number of courses ranging from regular to IB courses. And you can see the different programs that are offered at the different 4 high schools. One of the things that we're very proud of in social studies is the plethora of college credit courses that are offered. And you can see at Bryan High and at Rudder, they're a little bit different, but basically advanced placement, we start with AP Human starts as a freshman. So we start them out as freshmen taking college courses. And you can see it goes all the way, we sort of share teacher with capstone, but all the different AP courses that are offered. Also with dual credit with Blend, we offer 5 courses there in social studies that they can earn credit. And in the IB program, there are 2 courses. So a plethora of 13 college credit courses. That saves mom and dad a lot of money over a time period and also gives our kids a heads up on that. Bryan Collegiate has 6 social studies courses that they offer that are a possibility to gain credit. In AP, there's world history, and in dual credit Blend, there are 5 courses there that you can see from U.S. history to economics. One of the new courses that we've added that we've actually had calls from around the state on is personal financial literacy, and we're really, really proud of this program coming in. And it's offered to 10th through 12th graders. We adopted the Dave Ramsey program, and if you will see this young lady at Rudder High School, she's actually, I called the teacher and said, hey, I need a picture. And she said, oh, good, we're doing 1040 forms today. I said, a perfect picture for this. And so she sent me that picture that day. But basically with the Dave Ramsey program is whether they're going to college or whether they're going into the real world, it's how to handle your credit cards, how to handle savings, how to handle budgeting, because so many of our kids get in financial trouble very early. And so this is a great program for, kids going to college or, just getting out in the real world. And so we've been real pleased with this program. So
Janice, is this an elective?
yes, it is an elective. And personally, I feel like this is even more important than an economics course because it's really down to earth, the real nitty gritty of being a citizen's outside, and managing your budgets and home finance and preparing to retire eventually. And this program goes through all of that with them. And many of you probably have seen Dave Ramsey on all kinds of different programs and stuff and everything, but we've had really good feedback from this. And like the book you see, the students are able to actually take that book, and it's a tool that they'll be able to use throughout their life. It goes through the steps and through the program and stuff. So it's really an awesome program. So, and we're teaching it at all 4 high schools now. So we're really proud of that one. Okay, some of the social studies initiatives, I've spoken to you before the last time I was here, but basically, again, we are asking teachers to do at least 2 primary sources, visual and written. We use document-based questions in high school also. Again, we're trying to get the students to become the historians instead of the listeners of history and changing that mindset in the classroom. One of the other things is the experiential lessons, and I'll show you one of those, but again, it's sort of tying that abstract to something that's concrete that the students actually participate in, and it helps with their memory of those activities and everything. One of the weaknesses we found is kids can't categorize into time periods or into eras, and so one of the things that we've done this year is to make timeline anchor charts. And here you see one at Mary Catherine Harris and in our direct teach U.S. history class. And you can see it's like the 1920s, the Great Depression, and these are what I call the gotta knows. These are the gotta knows that are on your time charts, the big picture things that you've got to know about those time periods. It may be events, it may be people, that type of thing. And so, again, it gives them a very strong visual in the classroom and refer back to constantly. What do you remember about that? It's actually how we open up our review sessions for STAR. We put just the timeline topics up there, and the first activity they do when we start that STAR review is they have to do a brain dump, everything they remember about those eras. And so they go, get out in the halls and get paper and all kinds of stuff. It's really fun. That's how we open up all those activities and preparing for the STAR. So it gives them that visual all along the way, and they don't put them up to begin with. They build those as they're teaching those. So. Another fun activity, I got to actually see this one. You can see this young lady from Rudder High School. They were doing a Vietnam gallery walk here. And so one of the things in social studies, again, categorizing things very important for us, and especially when they start writing about history and writing like a historian. So the acronym we use is ESPN. Kids can remember that. It's something they know about. And so we categorize history into economic, social, political, and environmental. And so it helps them writing. It gives them their basis of their paragraphs and everything. So it gives them something strong. Again, building on that literacy program, our Bryan ISD literacy program here. But the gallery walk here, they were categorizing and doing some stuff. But what was fun about this is that as I'm walking down the hall, I'm hearing the music war, Sitting on the Dock of the Bay, Fortunate Son, and the songs like that. So it's the time periods and everything. So it just brings the whole experience of those activities together. It's not only the kids getting into it, but it's also the teachers. And so you see here to the left is an example of our Rudder teachers becoming presidents for the day. So they had a lot of fun. The kids had a lot of fun with it, with the mask and everything. They looked a little scary. One of the coordinators said she saw them on the desk of one of our instructional coaches, and it scared her, like, oh my gosh, what in the world are those? So, but they got to be presidents for a day. On the right, you see the Bryan High teachers in the decade of the 1920s doing the Roaring Twenties, with the feathers and the hats and everything. So again, it's just bringing those experiences to the kids, and not just talking at them, but having fun with them. Here, again, you see the Bryan High teachers playing presidents here, but one of the things that is, we really deal with the real world in social studies. And state law requires high schools twice a year to pass out voter registration cards. And in those voter registration cards, we decided, okay, we want to tie it with something in history. And we pass them out in government and economics, their senior level courses. And so we decided to pick two historical things. And so September 17th is Constitution Day, so we celebrate that week, Constitution Week, and it's required by law also. And then February 1st, because of the Voting Rights Act and everything, Black history, and tying it to that. So they're 2 times of year, and we explain the importance of why we pass them out during those times to students. We collect those. There's a time frame on their birthdays that we can pass them out to them, and during that 18-year-old period. And so what we do is we actually take them back up if they want to give them to them, and we get them mailed for them, because sometimes that's a step that even seniors will miss and everything. So we take them up, mail them, and take care of that for them, so they're registered to vote. And so really the real world, that senior year is getting ready to hit them. Again, the importance of all this is with our Bryan ISD literacy piece, we are trying to teach them to be good citizens, to be prepared not only for the academic world, but also for the real world. Any questions?
Thank you for that. I'm really excited about this personal financial literacy. Now, how long has that?
We've had it for 2 years, and I wish my daughter would have gone through it. You know, she's learned some of those lessons and stuff along the way, but she's following Dave Ramsey now, so, you know, but yes.
Yeah, so it is an elective. So how does it look with students really choosing this one?
You know, that's one of the beauties about the 8-period day. You know, it does give them, you know, some extra flexibility a lot of times in their and we've done a job of trying to sell it a little bit in classes and everything. Some of the teachers have actually gone and talked to some of the 9th grade classes and trying to pick them up. But I think a lot of them are junior and seniors that end up taking this course.
Tell their parents. Call the parents and say, look, what am I talking?
Well, I think Ms. Layton, his daughter, was one of those that we were talking about doing it, so.
Well, and I want to say it's over at Collegiate, they may be doing it through PCC.
They do. All of them do it through the PCC class and everything there at Collegiate. So that's a little different than at the others, so.
Because I've seen that floating around my house.
Yes. So anyway, yeah, so that one is they actually did it a year before we adopted it, and so they've been doing it a little bit longer in their PCC classes, but it's a great fit with PCC. Okay. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have the update on the ESS substitute system.
So as he's getting the slide up, just a reminder, we're in our 2nd year of outsourcing our substitutes with the company called ESS. Last year was our 1st year, and just a brief reminder of that. We had personnel changes all through the fall semester. We got new people that came in right at the winter break of 2020, and they started rocking and rolling and really doing a great job of getting subs back on the workforce, and then we had COVID. And so in March of 2020, they had approximately 320 subs that were working, and because of COVID, they drastically lost their workforce. We had not just a COVID, but we had our students, our A&M students, our Aggies, they graduated, our blend students went somewhere else. Students, the classes went online at spring break, and that caused the workforce to dwindle with our subs, with our ESS program, just because we didn't need as many subs at that point in time, and they lost employees that way. And then our subs were afraid also, like many of our employees, to return back to work into the classrooms, into the schools. They were scared of that environment. So in August of 2020 through April of 21, they processed 367 new hires and onboarded 243 of those new hires. And they have a goal that they try to get 9 subs per week, but because of things that they didn't, an employee or an applicant didn't go through the processing completely, they didn't get them on board, or we hired them as a district. That was one of our hiring pools, to pluck people from their workforce back into our school district, or there were other reasons that we lost employees as well. So they averaged about 8 subs a week. And this slide here just kind of depicts from August through March how they progressively added subs into their workforce. And the ladies that we have, they're doing a really good job, and I'll talk more about that as I get further in here with you guys. But they had expectation of 216 new subs, and that's 8 subs gained times 27 weeks. In reality, they had 159 subs for 27 weeks, and that equals 6 subs a week. And they also, there's a little note there, they also beefed up their orientation process, and because they did that, it required more time on the front end of their employment, and some people just didn't want to fulfill that obligation with ESS as well. But ESS thought that was the best thing to do, so they were getting more quality people on their workforce. So you can kind of see here the fill rates. This is the fall. I'll show you the spring in a minute. And the fill rate in gray is overall. That's teachers and paraprofessionals. And then the gold line is for our teachers. So our teacher fill rate has always been a little bit higher than the overall fill rate. A lot of that has to do with the fact that we don't have as many paraprofessional subs as we do professional subs.
Can you explain fill rate? Like, what is that?
When the teacher is absent, there's a sub in the room.
Okay.
Okay?
So fill rate versus teacher only.
Right, so fill rate overall is paraprofessionals and teachers. And then the teacher only are classroom teachers. I asked them to tease that out just because we had so many paraprofessionals that weren't at work this school year because of COVID for the most part, that we were not able to cover all the paras that were out with their para subs.
Okay.
And it drove down our overall
So
average.
the gray line or blue line or whatever that one is paraprofessional and teacher?
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't sure. Thank you.
So in the fall, we kind of started out like any school year, you're doing really well, and then we just kind of dwindly went down and down as our COVID numbers went up and up. And then we had kind of a break when we had Thanksgiving come in, but on the next screen, we had this drastic just drop in employees coming to work, and it was mainly after the Christmas holiday, the winter break, and we had a lot of employees that were exposed, were ill for whatever reason, and so we really, really went through a bad time there, and then we gradually picked back up, and their momentum has been going strong as we see from spring break on. ESS uses their call center. They have a national call center, and that center is calling our subs, asking them to fill jobs. So they're busy behind the scenes all the time trying to get calls. They have approximately done 1,400 calls in the last 10 weeks, and that's just to our people in our district, asking them to fill. And they also use some incentivized motivation thing. They put their people who sub like 5 days for 1 week because we're drastically needing subs, put them in a drawing for some kind of gift card. They do all kinds of things for a free iPad on their end just to incentivize people to come and sub. And they put, if you referred somebody to be a sub and they got on board, they got a $50 bonus or things like that. So they do all kinds of things to incentivize people to work for them. Subs by education, as you can see, our area of concern is our paraprofessionals at 38. That's really low. I mean, we could have 38 people out easily in paras for 1 day. This includes clerical paras. It also includes in-class support paraprofessionals that are working with students. And so that is really low considering the number we have in that group. And so that's an area of concern. And they continue to try to change that and get more subs in that area. But we had 140 college students that are subs. 95 of our subs are degreed, and 28 of our subs are certified or maybe retired teachers.
Carol, can I ask you a question? Back to the, if you have some paraprofessionals, their job is just ridiculously crazy all day long. If you put a degreed sub in a paraprofessional spot, do they get paid the degreed sub amount? Or has that ever even, because we need degreed subs in classrooms?
Well, for the most part, our degreed subs will not go down and do that job. They won't, because it's a different kind of work than what they want to do.
Okay.
If we had somebody go down, we would probably pay them at their rate, whatever it would be. But that's an ESS determination. But if they wanted, I wouldn't mind that happening. We just don't have our people that want to go down and do that job.
Gotcha.
It's a good question, though. Account management, this is done by Kathy. She's the one that she spends her time with us the most in the office. And you can see a variety of things that she does. They do all kinds of things to fill and get people here, monitor the ASOP daily sub needs. They look into the future, try to fill way in advance. And what really is critical and key to part of this billing is our employees have to have their absences in by no later than 6 a.m. the morning of that absence. If they don't have an absence reported by 6 a.m., per our agreement with ESS, it's not part of their requirements to fill. They will fill them. I mean, they work until they try to get as many spots filled as possible, but their cut is 6 a.m. So the earlier we can get our absences reported, then the better off we are, and their responsibility is much larger. So that's one of the things that kind of may skew our data a little bit, but it's important that y'all know that because it's in our agreement with them. They do, this is things they do because we now do their fingerprints, that has kind of streamlined that process a little bit because ESS employees can be fingerprinted by our Bryan ISD fingerprint station. More on sub-management, they answer questions all the time regarding their application, the daily rate, their preferred sub-position. They like to know where people want to go, and so they try to put them where they want to be so that they'll come back to us. They talk about payroll, updates and daily rates on our positions, their assignment availability, dress code, and they do discipline their subs. Dr. Whitbeck asked about that, and yes, sometimes subs make poor choices, and we get something that comes back on a fingerprint report or something like that. They discipline, they remove them from the program, just like we may have to as an employee of one of our employees. But they do discipline their people as well. And then our applicant management, these are all things that they do for our applicants' orientation. Like I said, they expanded that. They talk about dress code. They talk about how to manage kids that are difficult, how to report a problem. They go through the whole gambit of anything we would expect any of our teachers to do. And then outreach. These are all the things that they've done this school year to try to get people to come and be an ESS sub. So they're working and they're spreading themselves out. If any of y'all know a connection with Blinn, I'd love to have it because we haven't been able to get into Blinn like we have at A&M. A&M lets us come in, set up a table, and they recruit at A&M all the time. And then we ask our campus administrators about ESS. You know, we wanted to hear from them as well as to their thoughts. And we asked this question, thinking about the challenges we faced during this year in the pandemic. Complete the following sentence. I feel that my fill rate this year, my fill rates are, and 81% said better than last year. And this was prior to the pandemic, of course, but they do feel like ESS is helping them and supporting them. And we ask them, the next slide is.
Carol, if you'd clarify, because I know I asked this question, 21 responses is actually 21 campuses out of 23 that respond, not 21 people.
Yeah.
So I would want you to know that.
Sorry. And so we asked them, if we don't get a sub on the campus, then we have to farm out our teachers during their conference period to cover classes. That's been since age began of having an unfilled sub. And so they felt like this year they had to do less of that, much less than last year was 57.1, and then 23% said about the same, and then 14.3 said a little less than last year. But once again, COVID was a really kick to us as far as having enough subs just overall at times. And then how satisfied are you with the interactions with ESS? 76.2% are very satisfied with ESS, and the other 23 are satisfied. So then we asked for some feedback from elementary principals, middle school, intermediate, and high school. So these are things that they filled out on our survey back to us as to why they really felt that ESS was what they thought about it. And they really, really feel like Kathy, the one that runs it the most is just wonderful, and she supports them. And of course, Angela Behrens is in the HR department with us, and she's very supportive as well. She works in tandem with ESS to make sure that, you know, we do the best that we can. So those are our elementary comments. These are our middle school, intermediate middle school comments from our principals. And once again, they really think that Kathy is just fabulous. And she is. She is a hard worker, go-getter, let's move her and shake her and let's get things done type person. And then these were from our high school principals. So very quickly, this was the slide I showed you last year. This is what we pay our subs currently. And it also shows us ESS pays them. Let me correct that. They're paying them. And so the pay rate, this paraprofessional makes $65 for the job, but we're paying ESS $85. So that's how that works. They get 31% over the cost of what we're paying a sub. And these are our set pay rates right now. So the big screen comes up next, and this is what we spend on subs. It's a sticker shock, I agree, but this is it. And so if you look, we broke it down, and this is from August of 20 to March of 2021, and that's by the month. So you can see how many absences we've had just of employees that are not at work. So even if we have a teacher that's home, working remotely from home, we still have to have a sub in the classroom to cover the kids that are not remote learners. And so, I mean, we've just been hammered, so to speak, with the number of people that have been out and the amount of subs we've had to have this school year. And so at the bottom, from August to March, we've spent $905,000 just on sub pay, and then $406,000 to ESS on top of that. Okay? So last year, you know, we were at $706,000, and that was for the year, but remember the year kind of got skewed from March on, and then $317,000 for ESS. So, you know, we really haven't had a good year with ESS so far. I mean, we just haven't, because last year we started out rocky with the wrong people in the seats, and then we got it right, and then we went to COVID, and this year we've lived in COVID. So that's where we're at. HR will bring a recommendation regarding our recommendation at the next May meeting as to whether or not we feel like we need to move forward with this.
Our contract, as a reminder, is a year-to-year contract.
Okay.
So we're not obligated beyond 1 year at any given time.
Well, I really appreciate the report, because, yeah, we wanted to, and again, I mean, you said it right. It's hard to use this past year or even the year before as an example. It's just tough because of the impossible to make a valid determination of whether they're doing a great job or not. But that is a lot of money, and so I appreciate the fact that you're keeping us posted, because it's needs to be given a hard look when the time comes. Thanks.
You're welcome.
I think, Carol, part of the reason we got it was because there was a lot of work for our staff. And so I think we thought that a lot of getting with this company was going to take a lot of pressure off our staff, because we just didn't have enough personnel to get enough subs in. So if we don't contract with them, what is that going to look like for our staff? We're back to where we were prior.
We didn't cut a person, but learning from what ESS does, it takes more than one person to go out and recruit and everything else. And so, unfortunately, in our MOU with ESS, you know, Kathy and Jessica, they're fantastic, but we couldn't hire them directly to us let's cut the contract, but let's hire these 2 people. We have an agreement that we cannot hire them directly to us.
Darn.
I mean,
I think
You
they'd be
see,
losing
you
people
see
left and
why,
right,
yeah, why they put that in there.
good business strategy on their part, but I mean, that would be a huge loss to lose somebody like them. I mean, we would have to really look at it. I mean, there's, to go away from ESS, you've got to remember that all these people are not our employees. So we have to bring them back on board as a Bryan ISD employee. They're currently getting insurance through ESS, health insurance. We don't provide insurance to our subs, or we didn't in the past. There'd be some other considerations we probably want to look at.
I would be interested in knowing if we have any campus surveys from prior to last year. Like, so you have campus satisfaction surveys for this period, but did we ever do any campus satisfaction surveys with sub-placement prior to this?
Well, I know we did it last year, but I can't recall if we did any prior to that. I'd have to go.
But I think in full disclosure, and prior to you being on the board, this was a common complaint by our teachers.
That was kind of my
And
hunch,
even
is
when
that
I
it
would
didn't
go for
well.
scoop with the soup or soup with the soup, it was a common thread that they were concerned about losing their planning periods to have to cover. And that was one of the reasons why we looked at solutions, because we had so much feedback from our teachers really, really wanting it to get better, and we'd get a little bit better, but we never got our fill rate really over 80%. We really didn't. And so we monitored that, and then that's when Carol did some research and brought this forward to the board as a possible solution. But it's just never been a clean, smooth year since they started.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I look forward to your recommendation in May.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Carol, just wanted to ask the question. Your impression is that had COVID not happened, it's going pretty well. It is more expensive, but we're meeting the fill rates most of the time, and
Right.
it's working better than what we had before.
Right, I agree with that. I mean, if COVID had not happened, what we would have seen in the spring of last school year would have been a drastic difference, because they were on an upswing. Their fill rate, I'm going to say, was about 88% before we hit COVID, and then, they lost their subs. Everything happened that was just totally against the whole process.
Right.
And so they've been in this rebuilding this whole school year to get people back.
And I'm going to flip it around and say, since COVID has happened as well, where would we be if we did not have them?
Right.
Right, where would we be, internally trying to fill these many
Oh,
rates?
it would have been a nightmare. We would have had a lot of upset teachers.
And I think, back to Ms. Dwayne, I think not only have we've tried to beef up and recruit, but then we also got creative before we did this. And one of the reasons we brought in charter buses for a year or for however long was to make sure that high school teachers weren't leaving half-day to go. And so there was a lot of different creative solutions that we did that I'm not, obviously the charter buses weren't the total dollar value, but they were still, a substantial expense to do that. But this was definitely been one of, I was doing the quick numbers here, and apparently there's one campus that's having a tough time with the ESS, it looks like from the percentages that you showed, but other than that, it's, everything that I've seen since I've been on the board have primarily been the teachers going where they go to fill in everywhere. And so having that there's a lot of value in having the teachers being able to use their time to do what they're designated time to do, to plan.
That's pretty critical.
And the trickle up theory, you've got, before, a lot of the time you have inexperienced people walking into a classroom and the kids take advantage of it. Kids get referral. The assistant principal is affected. The paraprofessionals, you know, in the mornings that can't be there. I mean, there's so many other things. Yes, teachers and pulling teachers out of classes, number one. But there's so many other tentacles that move out when you're either, you don't have enough subs and the people, just the art coordinator, you know, I'm freaking out about just thinking about that. But anyway, so, you know, I sure hope that we're able to move in a positive direction as long as, you know, the finances are there, because I know this takes a whole lot of pressure off our people as much as possible.
One of the things you noticed in the data that Carol showed is that we're about $300,000 additional expenses for substitutes than we were the year prior. So as we look and plan for, should we get ESSER money from the allotted amount, this would be an expense that we would be able to claim and use that money for, because this was additional due to COVID. So keep that in mind too. We're hoping, of course, every day we wish that we would find out that the money, which in Bryan ISD's case is $55 million, would come our way. But until we know, that's why we're hoping by May we would know, and then our recommendation would be easier for you to bring to you, but we don't know. But just wanted to mention that that's a very viable use of that money.
Well, I'm certainly think it was absolutely critical that we improve our fill rate and try to make sure that we didn't have people trying to teach two classrooms and, you know, obviously not do a good job with probably either one. The only thing I want to say one more time is I'd want to see if this is the only way, and or whether there is another option to at least look at where with the money that we're paying these folks, could we get some first-class people, obviously, to work directly for us? Is that even an option? It may not be. Like you said, these are great people, and they're not just everywhere who are working for this company. So, and it's no different than all the other things that come up throughout the nation. Well, do you keep doing your own buses, or do you hire some company to do it, or do you do your own food services, or do you hire somebody to do it? So this may be the absolute best way, but I don't remember what all they said originally. I know the pricing was attractive at the beginning, and now all of that's been skewed by everything that's happened. So we don't know right now where we are with all that, and it may be impossible when it comes contract time to actually make any kind of apples to apples comparison of what else could we do that would still have a great fill rate, and we'd be doing a great job, and they'd be our people, because that's not inherently a bad thing if it's our people. But so I'm certainly not opposed to it by any stretch of the imagination. I just want to have a real good, hard look at, okay, what could we do to match the results, and maybe even do a little better, because we would have control over the quality of the people we choose, and of course have to invest probably a lot more than we did before in the program, because we weren't doing a very good job before these folks came along. So that's a mouthful, but I just want to I just don't want to focus solely on, well, they're doing a good job, so let's of course continue them, because I don't know if that's if we have another option or not yet.
All righty, thank you.
Thank you. All right, with that, we'll move down into standing committee updates, city and school.
Yes, we had a very good city school meeting. The city talked to us about all of the expansion on the different streets in the city that were going on. We also talked about how we were marketing our district, some of the things that we were going to be doing to get out the word about different programs, different things that are going on. We talked about the super park. Again, we always talk about the super park. But what was so exciting is that we got a chance to go to the groundbreaking for Big Shots. and myself, Ms. Waller, and Dr. Ibarra was there. And it was very positive. There was a gentleman there that's going to be doing the cooking. And he was very interested in working with our culinary students to have them come out and prepare dishes. And there's some type of a contest that they have where the kids can come out and prepare dishes and get a dish named after them. So we were excited about that. So we're looking forward to our students going out working with them on that venture when the school starts. Dr. Whitbeck, we talked about the number of COVID cases we have in the district. We talked about the number and percentage of our students that are back face-to-face. A little bit about the summer school programs that we have going on. Our teacher incentive allotment program, we gave update on that. And we were excited to bring them news about prom and the graduation ceremonies. And they were excited as well. So we had a very productive meeting. It was very good.
All right, Superintendent update?
Okay, a few things to share with you tonight. Of course, just want to reiterate that Bryan ISD was notified about being a 2021 Best Communities of Music Education. We're very proud of that, and that fell on the heels of a lot of straight ones and sweepstakes across the board at middle school and high school levels. So very exciting for us, and as you recall, we were already received an award for art education. So we feel like we're just real excited, and fine arts is in a great place in Bryan ISD, lots of opportunities for children. Moving on, this is tied to my comment about Ms. Willett, who I see has stayed, because she is our go-to for this conversation. But I wanted to just share a little bit about where we are on the high school and middle school bell schedule, and kind of walk you back to, as you recall, during the pandemic and the closure, we looked at the best ways to meet the needs of children. And one of the ways that we felt to meet safety needs was to have less movement in the hallways. And so we began with switching from an 8-period day to a block schedule, meaning that students would be having approximately 4 classes a day instead of 8, and they would stay in there about 90 minutes. So that reduced the passing in the halls. And I will say that with that and the safety protocols we used, it worked. That was a good decision. It worked. I think the feedback has been overall good, although there are certainly challenges with block schedule. But as we've moved through the fall, you can see a timeline here. I'm not going to read each one of these to you, but you can see how we began discussion in October. What's best for next year? What do we predict? But go back to October, and you recall, we weren't really sure exactly how safety was going to be at that time. But we began those discussions. How does it affect career technology, athletics, fine arts, and various areas? We did a survey, got a lot of feedback, pros and cons from our teachers and our coaches and various stakeholders. And then, as you recall, in November, you approved at our recommendation a program called Cardinex, which allows the information to be placed into a computerized system, allows us to help better utilize staff. You can use it for an 8-period day or a block schedule. We began to have kids register for their classes in December and February, and we've had a lot of meetings since then to help determine what is it going to be as we open in August. So a lot of collaboration. So moving on to the next schedule, I want to show you what we've landed on. So I would say we have landed on what we are hoping is the best of both worlds. And this is an example of what a middle school and high school schedule will look like next year in Bryan ISD. So you will see 8-period days on Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. Then you will see in the middle of a week, a Wednesday, Thursday, back-to-back, and that's strategic, block schedule. So in this case, it's odd days on Wednesday, even days on Thursday. That is also strategic. It has to do with teachers who go to the intermediate level, who may teach a high school orchestra class and have to go down to an intermediate level. It also has to do with our C-Tech Center and making sure that our periods line up with where kids need to be in order to receive that program. So this way, we feel like it's the best of both worlds. Picture yourself if you were a biology teacher. You could plan a lab for your Wednesday, Thursday. If you're in the middle of a dissection, it's back to back for a reason. You would have everything ready, laid out, and ready for the next day's group to come in instead of packing it all up, undoing it, packing, setting it back out. Same with extensive art classes, things of that nature. But it's also important to look in the box of, we've considered teacher planning. It's required that we have 450 minutes over 2 weeks. You can kind of see there, we would be over that in the traditional 8-period day, as well as this proposed schedule. So we would be about 28 minutes over, and that may vary a few minutes depending on whether it's a middle school and how many minutes we allow in passing. But we will be more than giving our teachers ample time. And then on the block day, one of those days, they will have a double planning so that it will be a little bit longer to get perhaps more intensive planning completed. So this is what we have landed on. I will tell you that I don't know that there is a perfect world, but what we've tried to do is to honor the requests, teachers who really loved it. We also have a strong request from those who teach courses like band, courses, the athletics, and those type of areas where it's important to see their children every day. So this way, every teacher or coach or director would see their children 4 out of 5 days, not counting any before or after school rehearsals or practices. So we hope that we've kind of met on gathering some of the best of both worlds. And that's what we plan to go post-COVID across the secondary level.
What do we call it? It's a modified block.
What do you want to call it, Donna? No, I'm just kidding.
It's a blended schedule. It's blended. We're being recorded.
There is a term called modified block out there, but a modified block tends to look, I mean, we didn't invent the block, as you know.
Right, yeah.
Modified block tends to be more like a 1st and 8th are every day, and the rest of them are longer, and so modified block is a common term, but maybe not exactly for this. I don't know, maybe we'll have to have a naming contest.
I know, because we could be the first. I mean, we could patent the name and.
It's a
3-2.
It's a 3-2 modified block.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
But it is funny, I had a conversation with some boys in my car coming back from baseball last week, and we were talking about pros and cons of their schedule this year and what they liked and what they didn't like. And I mentioned to them that there is a combo where you kind of have both, where you have days where you see all your teachers and days where you may not. And they were like interested in that. So the timing's ironic. That,
Well, let's hope that your baseball carload of boys is a good indication, because you are the first to see this, other than those in-house that have worked on the committees. And so, of course, we wanted our board to weigh in, and our plan is to release that this week through our principals and to our teachers. But it is to me, as a high school principal and former high school principal, I would be excited to try this, and I'm hoping that we will see that from our staff. And of course, a year from now, we may bring you a different idea. But, flexibility is the name of the game. I am pleased that our team decided to go with a block during COVID. I do think it is one of the ways we have kept the doors open since August 20th. That and our safety protocols, and of course, our committed staff.
This may have been thought of, but I would say this is a very positive thing that whoever did pick Wednesday and Thursday, because very often, we're not having school on Monday, or we're not having school on Friday, much more likely than Wednesday or Thursday. So because missing a Wednesday or a Thursday, or missing one of those days when it's the block, obviously makes it a little more difficult to try to get everybody back on track again, because you missed just those classes, and they're doubled up. So I think that's a good thing, because it's.
And that was strategic for that exact reason. Mr. Stasny, you would have been good on that committee. That was exactly the reasoning, because Friday holidays, Monday holidays, and knowing how important it was that whatever that course is the child is in, it's hard to miss one of those.
Okay, Donna, it's got to be a snappy name that The kids may not understand the schedule, but they like the name. Okay, good.
Okay, and moving on to just a few other things to share with you. Virtual Academy, Dr. Barr has talked with you about this, and we would like to be able to offer this to our community as an option. We are waiting on legislation still to tell us whether it will be funded and how exactly it will be funded, and that there are some possible bills out there, but nothing's happened yet. But we do know that these areas are very important in how we would handle fine arts, athletics, career technology, and UIL, meaning that in our planning, we believe that we can offer a virtual option and that students would have the option to participate in these activities while being an online learner. What we're going to do now is we're going to survey families living in Bryan ISD. We're going to try to get the word out. Appreciate our Eagle that's always here. We want to get the word out to those that may be in our community but not have a child in our district yet at this time, but we value their feedback. Would this be something they would be interested in? And just as a reminder, this would only be in consideration for grades 5 and up, not at the elementary level. So if we could get a gauge on if we think there's enough interest, that will help us in the meantime while we're waiting on legislation.
Do we have a number? Like, do you have a break-even number? Like, is there a minimum number that would have to select the virtual academy in order for it to be feasible?
It really depends. That's a great question. I would say, and Kevin can question, I would say it depends on the funding. If they fund us at full value, right now it's down at like a 50%. If they fund us at full, we can certainly do it a lot easier. So it really depends on the decisions that they make.
Okay.
And then lastly, just some great, more good news that popped up just within the last week. Davila Middle School, Aggie term, Claudia Rodriguez. She got the Expect More of Aggie Teachers Award from A&M and College of Education, so we were excited for her. And she was nominated by her mentor teacher, Emily Brewer. And she will teach at Davila Middle School next year, teaching math. So she is set. So there's a success story from Aggie term. And then we also had the International Baccalaureate Senior Art Show. I was able to go to that myself. It's quite amazing, and amazing to hear what inspired them to do the work that they did. Such a strong teacher there, Claudia Castillo. She's an excellent art teacher organizing all of that. And then lastly, we had Rudder Gymnastics. Our girls took first place and be heading to state, and our boys took second place going to state. So that's exciting, and we're just real proud. Lots and lots of positives going on at Bryan ISD, and a lot of work and planning for the 21-22 school year. Yay.
Great, thank you. And if there's no further comments, we will move down into item 7, items for discussion and/or action. First up is the consent agenda.
I move approval for all the items listed on the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Benford, a second by Dr. Harland. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And that will bring us down to item 8, teaching and learning. Consider approval of collaboration with Texas A&M University for Brazos Valley Teach.
Good evening. Excited tonight to bring to you a continuation of our partnership with Texas A&M University, as well as an expansion to our partnership with Texas A&M University. First on the agenda this evening is the agreement of collaboration for the Brazos Valley Teach program. You might recall a few years ago I came to you seeking your approval for an agreement of collaboration for Aggie term. At that time, we were looking at pathways to becoming a teacher, and it was a TEA Grow Your Own grant, and there were multiple pathways you could take. One for students, one for paraeducators to become certified educators, and then one for students who were in college to become educators. And we were planning on applying for multiple tracks at that time until TEA let us know you can only apply for one track. And so we stayed with the plan we had in place, which was the undergraduate plan. But true to their partnership and to their promise of being a good neighbor, A&M sought out additional funding to be able to offer another track for teacher preparation in the Brazos Valley. And that's what we have this evening. This program is funded through the Greater Texas Foundation, and it is directed at our students in high school and preparing pathways for them to become educators in the future. Now, thankfully, we have a really robust CTE program that is flourishing and has an entire pathway in the public service endorsement for teacher education. But what's lovely about Brazos Valley Teach is it partners them not only in high school with potential dual credit opportunities for teacher education, but provides and is seeking to provide them pathways into junior college and then ultimately to 4-year with A&M to become an educator, hopefully in the Brazos Valley. And so this partnership for your consideration this evening would lay the groundwork for that program. It's with Bryan ISD as well as several other ISDs in the Brazos Valley region. But I love that it's a continuation and expansion of the original Aggie term, but bringing it down to our high school level. And so we're seeking your approval for that agreement of collaboration this evening.
Just a question, Barbara.
Certainly.
I read the agreement. I didn't catch the CTE piece in there.
There's a opportunity for some different approaches to this, and so there is some specificity that's not included in the agreement from A&M at this time.
Okay, I was just curious which certification areas A&M was targeting in CTE, but.
Yes, ma'am. Well, the CTE is the course the student takes with us versus a CTE certification for teaching. It could be a CTE certification for teaching.
Well, but I was just curious about which areas they were targeting at A&M for CTE, because that's not something, I mean, they do it for ag, but that's really the only certification area I'm aware of.
No, they're looking for any teaching credential certification pathway.
So it's general?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. It's targeting our CTE students to do
Correct.
that. Got
In the
it.
public service endorsement.
Okay, awesome. I move approval of the agreement of collaboration with Texas A&M University for the Brazos Valley Teach program.
Second.
I have a motion by Dr. Harland, a second by Mrs. Waller. All in favor?
Aye. No, it's good.
Motion approved.
I'm sorry, did you have a question?
No. I can catch her later, it's fine.
And next is 8A2, consider approval of agreement of collaboration with Texas A&M University for Aggie term.
All right, this one is also similar to what you've previously approved for agreements of collaboration with a new twist. So Aggie term, as you know, and we've celebrated this evening, has been a wonderful partnership with A&M. Back when we were looking at multiple pathways, there was another idea for a pathway which honestly fits true to form with the teacher incentive allotment too. One of those goals is to recruit those who have college degrees to come into the teaching field, even if they didn't gain that certification while in their undergraduate program. And so Aggie term and A&M reached out to seek more sustainable funding for this program. In doing so, they applied for a Department of Education grant and received it. I think it's upwards of, I might be wrong on the number, $13 million over the course of multiple years to supply the funding needed for Aggie term, not just in Bryan ISD, but in 3 other districts as well, and expanding it beyond that realm. But what's interesting about this is they had 2 pathways. One was the traditional pathway that we're currently under an agreement with, which is the undergraduate student population and helping them do a year-long residency of student teaching in our schools and then sign for a 3-year commitment with the district. The other track they proposed was to recruit those with a college degree to come back and work on their master's degree and obtain teaching credentialing through that master's program, also doing a year-long residency, so targeting post-bac students, right? So interestingly enough, the Department of Ed approved both tracks, but said in the coming year, the 21-22 school year, you may only offer the post-bac option. After that, you may open up both pathways. And so for the coming school year, the agreement of collaboration that you have in front of you would provide that opportunity for post-bac students. They already have them in the program at A&M seeking a master's and a year-long teaching residency in Bryan ISD. And so we're excited to see that take shape. What's nice about this is traditionally in a post-bac program, we would hire these individuals as alternative certification candidates, and they would meet that criteria, and we would fully employ them. This gives them a year with a cooperating teacher instead, while they work and do basically a student teaching experience. A&M, through the grant, will be able to provide a stipend for their living wages, and we will be able to have them at our district and in our classrooms for a full year as they work on their masters. So the agreement of collaboration in front of you, you'll see 2 tracks, but for the coming school year, it'll focus exclusively on those post-bac students and having them complete the year-long residency.
This is amazing.
So I guess must have been money apparently that is, they're expecting to be able to do that the following year, is to do both.
It's a multi-year grant, yes, sir.
Okay, I'm just curious as to what their reasoning was for just doing the 1 track this coming year.
I can't really speak too much to that. If I had to guess, the Department of Ed is also seeking, much like the teacher incentive allotment, that you recruit new candidates to the workforce of teaching and the profession of teaching. And so it could be along those lines, where the undergraduate students who are already at A&M in the educational pathway are clearly already interested in a teaching credential. This would recruit those to seek that profession.
Well, I'm certainly not unhappy that we're getting to do this. It was just kind of.
They were also surprised at A&M to receive that stipulation from the Department of Education.
Wow.
Well, I saw Valerie Hill Jackson's name on both of those documents. I just think it's fabulous that we have someone in the College of Education and Human Development who's helping us develop these programs and wants to collaborate with our district.
Absolutely.
She is a wonderful partner.
I move approval of the agreement of collaboration with Texas A&M University for the Aggie Term Program.
A second.
We have a motion by Ms. Dwayne, a second by Ms. Waller. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you. The board will now convene in closed session to discuss the following items as allowed by Texas Government Code Chapter 551.072 and 551.074. No voting will take place in the closed meeting. Any action the board wishes to take as a result of discussion in closed session will take place after the board reconvenes in the open meeting. It is now 7:52. The board reconvened in open session at 8:30. No action was taken in closed session, and if there's no further comments, we are adjourned.